very awesome panel. Our media guys, Jack Crnjanin.
Nah. Is it up there? Wow, you didn't even spell it right.
Oh, I copy that.
Jack Crnjanin, Cringy Works. I am a host and present engine for radio and a marketing coordinator for private stuff. And very thirsty work.
Yes. I'll go into the audience. Justine, Colla. Now I've listed you with a township tale because you're a sponsor of this convention, but you were not able to exhibit. Do you want to give us a bit of a spiel about township tale?
Well, I was the township tale and currently not anymore. I'm actually the new community manager at Surprise Attack Games, which I've been doing.
Even better.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm moving to Melbourne tomorrow. But I'm also not so secretly an incredibly massive pro wrestling fan. I have Instagram and Patreon and Twitter, which is all Pasta Sauce stuff.
I spelled pasta sauce right, didn't I?
Yes. When people don't write it, it's just pasta sauce. I'm like, with an A on the end.
No, I got that right, so please go and look up it. And there will be art here, you will get to see it in all its glory. Luke Mitchell presents on Checkpoint on Joy 94.9 FM in Melbourne.
Yeah, so Joy, for those who don't know, is one of only 4 LGBT radio stations in the entire world. In the world?
Wow.
Yeah, it runs all the time, so it's crazy. Down in Melbourne, we're producing Checkpoint for about 3 years, and very thirsty there.
It's very important.
I know they have this game.
How thirsty?
Very thirsty.
Literally.
And last but definitely not least, Cassiel Kelner, Sparkle Cass, who is a translator and localizer of Japanese otome games. Do you want to talk a bit about what you do?
Okay, so yes, I translate, obviously. I work on romance games. I'm sorry, that's his head. Romance games, but so basically you are some chick who's in some kind of weird setting and you end up with a huge slew of men and you have to pick which one to romance. And they all have very interesting stories and you get to get, various levels of down and dirty with them, and I have to make it sexy as possible in English, which sometimes the Japanese is, you really gotta work with it. So that's what I do. So I'm basically sitting at home in my pajamas all day and have to translate for I'm very
Okay. I've tried to make it fairly varied in this thing. However, my choice of images pretty clearly betrays my own fandoms, so I hope we at least have something in common. If I've left out your fave, I'm very sorry. I'm going to make this PowerPoint available online so you can download it and mod it. and don't hesitate to shout. This panel is basically going to be 10% media analysis, 90% yelling about who you think. Tweet, Facebook, whatever you want to do. I've used official art from the games, but I urge you to look up some of the very great fan artists in our various. And then my Inquisitor, she's pretty much my self-insert Mary Sue. Yes. So in theory, you should be able to come away from this panel, even if you're, a gold star lesbian, never looked at a man so much in your life, but you should at least be able to understand sort of tropes and twinkles that you can apply to a character to make them sexually appealing. Puppy eyes, for instance, that's very important. Looking a bit beat up, I think is quite appealing. I think we all know what we're doing here. So, sexy ladies, fair formula really. No surprise that these are both from Mass Effect, Demetria Venezia, and of course Miranda Lawson. Miranda, I'm so sorry, I would have written you a million times better. But, we know what to do here. So, can you just put that on its head? Well, in theory, yes. I'm certainly got no question. Yeah, I'm good. But I think there's a general agreement that in popular media, in comics, capes, comics, or video games, or wrestling, all the things, guys are presented as more aspirational. So, for instance, we've got Adam here, he's this cold-blooded dude, he's wearing a cool overcoat, and he doesn't have any emotions or expression. Nico Gerald, these guys are basically angry all the time. Thor is a little bit better. And of course, it's assumed that the reader wants to be like this and aspires to their character. Anyway, so, whereas to make them sexy, actually doesn't necessarily require a huge tweak. I actually found this scene where he can't remove, oh, he is genuinely emotional, even while I'm going, because, you know, the situation, you can cause to sympathise with the character through their vulnerability and humour, and so when they get into it, you're really feeling it, and the fact that they're in a shirt doesn't actually distract you much. And in his alcohol problem and his complete lack of emotional expression, I have nothing to say about
I
it.
can't quite see you saying the word. What is that?
Yeah, sorry.
In the bottom left?
Bottom left is Gerald's video.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Things that one key scene. Because the thing is, in The Witcher 3...
Oh, that's them too, yeah.
Because in The Witcher 3 they actually made Gerald a lot more appealing. Like, they made his eyes a bit less scary, they sort of softened his face up a bit. Whereas in The Witcher 2, straight up scary. So this scene really stands out as like, yeah, we'll throw the man loves a bit of a bone here. So like,
It's very important.
yeah. And of course, telltale Batman. So yes. If anybody's seen that short text comic about false equivalence, you may remember the discussion the female cartoonist has about making the male character more flexible. Now, this is about appealing to women rather than generally appealing to dudes. We had pre-prep results for this panel. It's very important. And we found that none of the, for instance, Luke's pretty bluntly a bear fan. I like bears, but I don't want to sort of limit myself. If you're into anime boys, you probably go for your sort of Slender Sephiroth types, you know. So
maybe not specifically that example.
yeah, okay. Yes. Who was about 50% as likely to cut you in half. Basically, sort of going through accessibility. Like, obviously, a man who is meant to be aspirational is, dangerous, has control of his environment, is powerful, probably a bit ugly. Whereas, when he's meant to be sexually appealing, whether it's to men or to women, it'll be more about flexibility, humour, vulnerability. Gravel is very important, as every single Garrismancer in this room will probably agree. We also had a bit of a chat about character tropes, and I'll get back to Cassiel a bit later. I think it's very important. Like, everyone thinks what stuff I say about. Okay, so let's shoot Cassiel. Now, look at this colour coding. Talk us through this. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so this game is called 100 Days as a Princess. I'm sorry, I didn't pick games that I would work on or off the company I work for. I'm a bit biased there. So this is a game where you travel to a country from where you accidentally get chosen to be a princess for 100 days. Not really sure how that works. Everyone's done that, right? So, but you end up with like this, how many of them? 12? There's 12 of them.
Not enough.
There's not enough. I do agree, considering that some of the personalities are really similar, but you basically, you go in and you have all of these guys and they all appear in the prologue with just like a set, scene or something, and you get to sort of go, I like this guy, I like this one, and then you pick which one you represent and you have a story within that. The colour coding is something that is really important in Japan, so they've all got, you've got, this is your theme colour, like your eyes are going to be this colour, with some of them your hair will also be this colour, and then the outfits are all tailored to be colour scheme, and when they release merchandise for these games, the merchandise is also colour coded. So they had these little necklaces with like little pendants that were all colour coded for boys. So,
does it indicate the character? So Bruce, is this young gentleman in the yellow jacket, is he a sunny-natured, pleasant, open-hearted? And so I would expect that these dark purple guys would be the dark and violent.
A lot of
yeah, it's more creepy and it's actually not something.
Yeah.
Now you're right, and the pink-haired guy is super bubbly and cute.
What about Green Boy?
He's calm into a kid. He's young.
Okay.
He's very green.
And why is that indicating some sort of medical or
Pure and sweet. Pure and sweet. So, yeah, you're right. I had not. Thank you. I had not treated that far.
Well, let's just say there's a reason I always go for the purple guy.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't.
Yeah, no. I try to keep all video games fun and safe. Now, what's Reindeer Fleurs? There's a lot of pretty boys in here, but I
I've not actually played this one.
Okay, they're pretty.
They're pretty. This is all my
Always a white-haired one.
There's always a white-haired one. That is very, very important.
I usually
And they always have what I mainly there's this sort of something that I don't see as much done with the Western representation of sexy guys is in Japanese games you can get a lot of these really glowing outfits where they're wearing big giant sleeves and like layers, and you've got these men with
Quite a bit of skin exposed.
and they will still expose quite a bit of skin, and it's sort of like feminizing of them if you think about from a Western perspective. You know, we wouldn't do that in the West because, oh my god, if we did that to our men, they're gay, which is a like horrible thing.
Well,
I do not
it's that trend of making Shonen characters.
yeah,
right?
exactly. But you know, in Japan, they really, really focus on this because they're actually designing these primarily for women. So actually, it's entirely.
Who are we looking at here? Because obviously these are prizes you get. Like if you successfully romance these dudes, you get you unlock a picture.
Artwork, and this is Cassiel an Oda Nobunaga. And if you know anything about Japanese history, there were evil warlords.
It's not how I would have imagined.
No, I think most people would not have imagined them this way. So this game is this company's most popular game. It was the first game they ever released on the mobile. It was also released. So you can actually listen to these guys whispering in your ear, which is actually horrifying. So yeah, the plot is you go back in time through some magical time, a wormhole or something. I'm just going to exist everywhere. And you end up in this time and you save Oda Nobunaga from being killed, which is what actually happened in history. And by doing so, you change the course of history, and as a result, get to romance one of these warlords. Yeah, isn't it awesome?
I'm surprised though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right, you're back in time. You've got no idea where you are. Everyone's a kid. There's no sanitation. You as the character were working to be a fashion designer in the present time, and suddenly you're stuck in this time with all these swords, and basically, yeah, it's like, who do I follow? It was a very important choice, and for me it was last morning, and now because I like one of guys, I think. Okay. So also be much of these chairs. This is actually coming out in English really, really soon. So I do recommend downloading when it comes out, because the guys are a bit creepy in the Japanese, but they have been improved in the English to be less creepy more.
Or you could just find the art on Tumblr, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. If you type in influencer welcome, you can find all of the art. Everybody loves it. So just go and look them up and I just look at them and get the sound from them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So good.
can we talk through lack of nipples are illegal?
No, because there's another game that I know where half the guys have nipples and half of them don't. And I still don't understand how they made the choice. Who has nipples again? Who hasn't got nipples? But this game was really fun because you were cross-dressing as your twin brother and going to this high school to hang out with these guys. And it was a high school where the top of the high school was decided by who could beat the shit out of each other, the best, and who would win the fight.
I think the J drama that I watched a long time ago, except it was a high jump one. I don't remember.
But in this one, you had to beat these guys up to romance. It was really satisfying.
Yeah, is this in English or not?
No, a lot of people are petitioning like saying, please bring this out in English. So I'm really hoping that it does come out. If somebody else doesn't bring it out, I'm going to listen to it again. So I'm going to translate it when you give it to me.
Okay. Justine! Okay, now this is my initial notes about my impressions of Justine, because Justine pretty much got me back into wrestling. I haven't been paying much attention.
I've single-handedly been trying to get a lot of people in the games industry back into wrestling, or to start off in wrestling.
Yeah.
Like me, I've only been into it for 2 years, and look what happened.
Yeah. And I'm a woman of a certain age, and I'm from the era when blokes in wrestling were mostly deliberately ugly. You know, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, these guys were not presented as sexy. Somebody like Ravishing Rude was specifically making a gimmick of being sexy. Whereas now it seems like they're all sexy.
But Rick used to wear female faces on his tights. Like he got all these specially airbrushed tights, and he would have usually his opponent's girlfriend at the time, he would have like a face on his crotch.
Why do you have that much beef with, I don't know, man.
It's like Randy Savage's wife, Elizabeth, the girlfriend, she'd be on his crutch and he'd like gyrate in front of him and make him angry. And so he was famous for all the men hating him and all the women loving him. That was his gimmick, and he was one of the biggest bad guys in history of wrestling.
And my problematic favourite, Dolph Ziggler, tried to do this last year, and it was terrible.
So, I mean, you can sort of see what's it. So these are wrestlers as mermaids and, you know, feminine poses, lovely long flowing hair because you're with it. Not directly from you, that's kind of important. So I apologise, Justine, I've kind of taken the whole thing. So, can you talk through this? Because TLDR.
So, I originally started putting my art on Tumblr because I felt that doing guys in kind of more feminine, softer poses would not translate well to a Twitter or even Reddit audience. I can't actually read what I said.
Okay, so what I've done here is
so this is actually, I actually use references of only women poses to draw, because I find that if I'm looking at poses of guys, it's usually not kind of capturing the kind of softer, I guess, feminine poses that I really want. And I find that a lot of current fan art in wrestling is mostly done by comic artists or anyone who does kind of, it's just like, there's, to me, I know that I don't want to offend any fans of comics here, but I don't really see much appeal in just seeing like a big fat man with like 11 abs and he's like, oh, I'm strong, and I don't really feel any really kind of connection to that, which is why I wanted to kind of go in this different direction and kind of put, these are I draw on post-it notes a lot, it's very strange. But someone gave me an idea earlier that I should make posters out of them.
that bottom right, that's it. I've got an order already.
This is a good example because actually this one includes Summer Rae, which she's actually someone mentioned that she was the only one in a power pose where all the boys are actually...
Where she's sort of showing her ripped shoulders.
Yeah. I'm just trying to, especially in a fandom that is so straight male dominated, just trying to show a different view. And I stopped putting myself on Tumblr so much and more on Twitter, and I was genuinely surprised how well people responded to this. And I've got a little bit of obsession with crop tops as well.
We approve.
Yeah,
Please carry on.
I just love a little bit of stomach, especially when it's on wrestlers because they all have amazing bodies. What else is there to say, really? There's a lot.
You've got a bit of... again, we're getting back to character here, vulnerability. I've put this up here, but what I think is really impactful is your Neville comic.
Yeah. People always ask me, like, why are you into wrestling? It's so weird, but to me it's so much more than just two big guys that are punching each other like, oh, it's all about the characters and these storylines. And the moments that really stay with me is when these characters are showing a moment of vulnerability. And every time I draw, every single thing I put to paper, any idea, I'm trying to tell a story, which kind of goes back to going away from the big comic wrestlemen and they're just like, I'm strong, and I find that there's so much fan out of that, but I'm finding that, I do get a lot of positive, even from guys, but mainly women, that when I do this kind of stuff, because it's not really being seen. And there's not a lot of, it's interesting in the pro wrestling fandom because there aren't a lot of fan makers in terms of fan art and fan fiction that is in anything else. And there are a lot of hobbyists, but even inside that, there are very, very few, probably maybe 30 people who can do comics and can do these kind of higher concepts and have a very good understanding of anatomy and might actually come from a professional background. So when someone is slightly, I wouldn't say amazing, but when someone is slightly decent at kind of putting these ideas to paper, it's like, oh my god, like this exists and it's good fan work. It's something that's really missing in wrestling. Oh my boy,
I love The New Day.
So if anyone knows wrestling, they might know The New Day. The New Day is an amazing story about intersectional diversity in wrestling because they're originally given, in wrestling everyone has a gimmick, which is this character that they have to tell, it's their persona. They were originally given that they were supposed to be preachers, just black preachers, and they would come in and they would clap and everyone was going to be happy, and it was horrible. And they somehow managed to turn it around, and now they're just kind of a louder version of themselves, and they come out like on the unicorn, and they're just wearing bright colours, and they're honestly just having fun, and they're having the time of their lives, and it's really great to see that there are this stable of 3 black men who are really at the top of for a point in time, they were the biggest attraction for the entire WWE, and that mean so much to me, and to also all of the, it's amazing to go to any of their Instagrams or Twitters and look through the comments, and so many young black men and women who are just so appreciative for what they're doing for
And their breakfast cereals.
and the breakfast. They have a breakfast cereal. Are you kidding me?
It's called Bootios.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Bring it out.
Is that real? Is it actually?
No, it's real.
It's not called Bootios.
It's called videos.
Yeah. They bring it out to the ring and they're eating it.
I'm all about rights now.
But also, Xavier Woods is a massive nerd, isn't he? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Xavier Woods is the guy on the, I can't tell my left from right. Is that right? Right side.
Right.
Yes. And he has a, I can't really want to show his work, but he has a YouTube channel called Up Up Down Down. And his whole creed is that he wants to bring wrestling and gaming and put it together and bring it to, because gamers and wrestling fans actually cross over a lot. Especially when a lot of kind of pro wrestling fans from the Attitude Era are people who enjoy playing games today.
They've come out in cosplay a few times for their big entrances as well.
Oh yeah, this year at WrestleMania they came out in Final Fantasy 14 gear.
It was really cool. Yeah.
That is exciting.
So you should watch wrestling. It's okay, kind of in it. It's okay.
Oh, okay, so yeah. Before you hit the next button, we were talking about this prior to, like, before I flew down here on like Saturday or whatever. You know, like, we all get all of our picks into that we know what we're talking about. And so last night at about 1 a.m. I was like, I probably should get some stuff together. And so I just smashed through a bunch of Tumblr searches. This was the result. But this picture you're going to see now is actually, so I did Twitch streaming, and someone made a subreddit and made that image. And that is basically
It's your brand. Oh my
it's
god.
my brand. So
Who's this? This is awesome.
okay, so this is a bit of a weird one. So like when I was going through the list of things to search, Final Fantasy was one of the first things that came to mind. But the thing is, I've never been that into Final Fantasy. Like most fans would be like, you know, I really like 7 or 9 or like 10 or whatever. But I always kind of like skimmed. But Final Fantasy Dissidia is a very interesting series in that it's basically fan fiction. It's terrible. It's so goddamn bad. Like all of the characters are reduced to tropes. But from what I've had outside of Dissidia, they're pretty well fleshed out characters. But in Dissidia, they're just reduced to the trope. And so you get the, oh man, it's all good. And now it's on it was a PSP game to begin with, but now it's on PS4, so you get all those, all that angst and all that brood in HD. That's what I'm about. Okay, so this is a really important one, okay? So Fire Emblem is very important because, quickly going to dismiss the fact that as a male character in Fate, you can romance other male characters, but most of the characters in Fate I didn't actually chat that much about. In Awakening, all of the characters in the English version, like what I played, are incredibly well written. So if you go in as a female and you're like, I'm going to marry everyone, which I have, you can go through and all of these people, all of these characters have very, very defined, you know, character traits, and you go through this narrative with them in a way that feels very natural because of how the game mechanics pace them. And to your point earlier about how like some of the characters tend to overlap, like in the one with the color coding, you were like some of these characters are basically just the same. In Fire Emblem, they're all very, very distinct and very well fleshed out. So you never feel like you're buying into a trope. You're buying into like real people. And also anime boys. These were the two husbands that I romanced.
Blue boy. He's very pretty. I like him.
So on the top and on the right there is Stull. Dan, he's a complete dork and a mess, and I associate with him on so many levels. And then Black is just that hot dog. But like also a goof. Like he's also they're all just dorks. I love all of them. They're fantastic. Play Fire Emblem Awakening, it's amazing.
Dorian.
Oh, Dorian, okay. So, I'm not sure we should have the Dragon Age discussion now, because there are more pictures like sprinkled throughout the slide.
I mean, this whole thing's going to be all Dragon Age all the time, and I'm trying to break it up because I'm not so much.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is coming out on top. This is a visual novel, romance, porn game. There are quite a few of these, but coming out on top stands out in particular because of the way that its characters are written as well. They're not anywhere near as fleshed out, and like they don't feel as sincere. Like you start the game and like you come out to your friends, it's like I'm gay, and then they take you to a gay bar and you know meet your university. It's all very like you can see through it. It's all very surface level, but the art's great.
And this is by a lady called Double Leaks. So if you go online and search for Double.
But yeah, in saying that, like some of these characters are actually really just.
These are unlocked screens, though. You have to go through a certain amount of.
Well, no. I mean, yeah. So you've got to, as a visual novel, you've got to go through and you've got to make decisions to the point where you can romance someone, and then this is like the towards the end, where like you've been with this is the professor I was mentioning earlier. And so like you've been with them for a few years after, and what is the thing at the top?
One adorable flaw is that he insists on practicing his lectures with
so it's
in human anatomy.
It's all very light-hearted, I think, which kind of gives it a free pass.
You can romance your goldfish.
Oh no, we're not. That's bad. No, that's if you don't romance anyone, you basically romance your goldfish, and it's a really weird scene that happens.
Have you done all of them?
I have done almost. Okay, so I played when it first came out, so a lot of the romances they have now just went into that.
Okay.
But it gets a pretty solid pass because it's lighthearted. Other visual novels that I played, like Super Help Club, get really serious, but that the writing is just it's so bad. It falls apart almost immediately. And so you look at these characters and you're like, yeah, good job. That hot bod. Fuck, you're annoying. I just want to get through the game and be like, yeah. Pretty much. I mean, that's what Tumblr's for. I mean, who said that? What have I got next? What is next in my personal stash?
I've actually just, I didn't use more from your personal stash because a lot of the people you nominated, like Fenris, are actually in this. So basically, this is the yelling section.
Right, okay, let's start screaming.
This is especially for Cassiel.
I'm sorry, I love Adam Jensen. I support him much, and I know he's got no personality. But see, this is actually an interesting thing. When you're playing the game as Adam Jensen, and he's got no personality, but you're with him, you're in his head all the time, essentially. So the whole time that I'm like sneaking around places and like climbing pointlessly through air vents or whatever, I'm in his head and I'm going, well, he's doing this because of this reason and because he's actually this type of guy. And so I'm creating this amazing personality, and I think that's a big thing when you're doing it.
Is he a Mary Sue? Oh, like a Mary Sue, but...
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep, no, he probably is. But I mean, the thing is, if you're playing like the visual novel games where you're trying to romance someone else, you want them to have some kind of personality so that you've got something to relate to. So you're actually, if they're annoying, you don't want to bone them, and if they are, they're interesting and they're cute and they're funny and they're quite, you want to bone them. But in this instance, when I'm playing him and he says very little, I get to invent everything about who he is.
The narrative of Adam Jensen is not at all canon, and it's never been canon. The canon narrative doesn't exist, but it's all incarnate, so you associate with that.
Yeah, and everyone has their own narrative of Adam Jensen, and that's what makes him really awesome for me. And then he just sits around and does that. I kept going home and can we just like have a video conference or something and tell him to take his shirt off, please? And there was a shower scene, and I was like, oh my god, the shower scene, can we just play that over and over again? And my partner's sitting there. Yeah, my partner's sitting there going, did you do that other scene when you did this? And I was like, oh my god, did I miss it? So yeah.
I should chat about Telltale a bit. Telltale do really hot dudes. Like, not just, I haven't put it in yet, but like, Harvey from the latest series, The Walking Dead, is absolutely freaking gorgeous, and Cassiel, my puppy mode. I haven't actually played the last few episodes. I'm waiting for it.
Telltale's always done really great conversations with men.
Is it? Yeah, that's Liam.
Yeah, Liam Costa.
The one that got
great.
away. Man, I was so goddamn keen to romance Liam, and it was like, oh no, I don't really swing that way, man. I'm like, you're wrong.
Overcooked Liam's masculinity a bit, because in this scene, they're looking at a picture of a classic muscle car.
But the thing is, like, from what I've seen of him as a character within his writing and the way that he interacts with some of the other characters, like, he's not he's not super masculine. He's like very toned down.
Yeah.
And then when you actually get into a romance with him as a female writer, it's actually it's not the best that Mass Effect or Dragon Age has seen, but it's definitely not the worst.
This is my canary Inquisitor. She didn't romance Bull, she actually romanced Blackwall because she cowered over him.
Now, Iron Bull for me is
one of the first sort of video game characters that I thought I could have a bit of a crush on, because I do like bigger, very heavy-set guys. So oftentimes in video games, for me, they're often that sort of quintessential pretty boy. You know, they've got the abs and the muscles, and then Nathan Drake will save the day, that kind of rugged masculinity, and that's okay. I understand that, but personally for me, didn't do anything. So I was really happy to see a character like Iron Bull, who's, you know, obviously...
And he's pan, oh yeah.
Well, yeah. He's pansexual, he's into a bit of S&M, so he's a bit kinky. He's open... Yeah, it's fantastic. He's open to talk about that with you, but also, if you play the storyline, appreciates a grand gesture as well. And so for me, having a character like Iron Bull that would, you know, be big and tough and pin me against the wall and kiss me, that...
Yes, please.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really great, because oftentimes the bigger, burlier characters that look like him are more villainous or kind of bad guys, and they're not really as well characterized. So it's good to see that. No.
I'd like to, like, the chicks on the panel, have you played through romance? Have you seen the romance with Iron Bull?
Yes, this is my Inquisitor. This is my little Elven Inquisitor.
So
it was supposed to be romancing Dorian and messed it up. So we ended up getting this so Iron Bull romance. He's getting his hands pinned behind his neck.
Yeah,
so, you know.
the romance with, if you're a male romancing Bull, like, the scene that follows is absolutely hilarious. Like, they deal with the sex scene in a really funny way that, I mean, almost anyone could watch and enjoy, because they just layer on the comedy so thick. But
is that where
they walk in and they're all just hanging out.
Yeah.
And they're all totally okay with it. It's the best part. They all just go, oh,
and
sorry.
Like, Cullen's openly giggling.
Yeah. Cullen, don't.
The thing is that you also can sort of throw them under the bus in that scene.
Oh, what, sorry?
You can kind of throw them under the bus and just like, oh no, this is...
Oh,
yeah. It's not a she. I don't take that option, but yeah, no.
But for female characters, like, was it as appealing to you, the romance scene with Iron Bull? Because I've heard...
I've never romanced Bull with a female character.
Yeah, I was romancing with a male.
Yeah, with female characters, I've heard a few friends of mine, I'm not going to say that this is like, oh, it's a shit female romance, but I'm saying, like, people have said that it's kind of been disappointing, like, they kind of whitewashed the point, like the S&M kind of deal. Yeah. They just sort of whitewashed it, and it was very, like... It was unimpressive.
I'll YouTube it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to YouTube a lot of this stuff.
For science.
Oh, for science.
A lot of people shouted about how they couldn't romance Cream. I'm inclined to agree with that. Quiet Boy was a good job. I actually wanted to find it, and I couldn't find a good picture of Baldur for this, but that also, Quiet Boy was a good job. Don't underestimate that feeling. Yeah, it's like, we were into, like we're showing all the flashy dudes like Bull who have got all the trimmings, but, just Quiet Boy, good job. Am I the only person here who's romanced Reyes Vidal at least 3 times now? This isn't my screenshot, but my Scott Ryder there's an achievement for romance like 4 people across 3 playthroughs, or romance X amount of people. My Scott got it in 1. He's a bit of a hoe.
I'm surprised.
I don't know if any of you attended the bisexual disability panel yesterday. The topic of the sexy bisexual road came up, and Reyes' Andromeda's contribution to the bisexual road, which by the way they seem willing to give up. I'm looking forward to their bisexual accountant. But yeah, that is a really fun romance issued by a female or male writer. And it's one of the side romances that doesn't go anywhere. Like you do like about 15 minutes of content, and then you either get rid of him in some way, or you make him the factor in your planet you're on. And then nothing happens, and you go around and visit him in the hope of a smooch or whatever, and he goes, thanks for dropping by.
It's just kind of inconsequential.
It was. But the thing is, there's a few romances in Andromeda like that where it's a side romance. It's not a squad mate. It's not a major romance. It's not a companion of any kind. So I appreciate the direction they're going in, but I think they need to do a bit more with it.
With that, sorry, for that last screenshot as well, are you just always hunting for the money shot? Like, you said that's your screenshot. Are you
It's a good one.
Got it.
But what do you mean? Green eyes. I have a weakness. That's
okay.
My screenshot folder for Inquisition is a little bit embarrassing. To the point where it was like several gigs large. Well, I was trying to get a really nice shot of Dorian. And, I mean, they're all great.
They're all good.
I'm not worried.
Also, I made a gorgeous Inquisitor,
Yes, did everybody here romance Hayden? I romance.
Oh, I did. That was a mistake. He abandoned me. And I was like, screw you. Well, if you romance Hayden, and I was like, well, and then you have the decision in the first.
Oh, you romance Hayden as a female.
Yes. And then you have the decision in the first one, and then the second one came around. He's like, sorry, and I'm like, what? I saved you.
Oh,
ungrateful shit. And then Thane
No,
came
you were
along.
the Cerberus.
And then Thane came along and he had that voice, and I was like. And then Hayden was like, can I join your team again? And I was like,
Get out.
Okay, so I romanced Hayden with a character that was created specifically in Mass Effect 3, so I just made up the backstory. So I created an ugly ship. I created the ugliest ship, and I could do that in comedy. And actually, I really enjoyed the male Hayden romance. It just sort of fell into place. It just, yeah, felt really good.
was he buying the first one or was that
No,
that it
no.
Were there any gay romances in Mass Effect 1 or 2? I don't think.
Liana.
Oh, sorry, for females.
Yeah,
for
for both.
males.
No. So Hayden in Mass Effect 3 was their first enemy.
It was a slow burn, yeah.
So you had to get the big mountains. It's still a I
Oh, I referenced this earlier. It is terribly written. It is so goddamn bad. But
does it
the
need to
art.
be good though? Like, I'm not just picking
You want to
selection.
comment on like such?
Is it like a westernized free?
It's no 3 years. Oh man, we're not having this one. Like it's written so poorly, and all the characters are just awkward. At least in English,
Yeah.
it's clearly like I hope it's been translated. Because if this was written straight up, like you guys fucked up. But then yeah, of course, like the art is like pretty solid. Some of the sex scenes are a little bit weird.
I actually found out about this because I like the artist. The artist is a guy called Don Sand, who is native Spanish, or at least that's his first language.
Right.
And he does a really cute gay comedy series where he's just doing this sort of basically Sunday newspaper comics about gay real life. And I really enjoyed those. So of course when he's posting, oh, I'm doing art for Super Health Club, but he had nothing. Because he's actually quite a funny writer, but he wasn't. I don't think he was writing this game.
Yeah.
So
it was just
shame. But
the thing actually.
oh, we've got Alex.
Yeah, Alex is great. Actually, it was super helpful. I downloaded when I got the game. I downloaded a pre-release version. It was actually pretty janky. So the text box was I could edit the text box.
Oh damn! I should have got you the
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I feel a bit skeevy about the Alex trope because it's the whole professor student thing, but
It
hey,
really it turns it up to 11.
it's a safe space to bang this professor.
Like honestly, you get to the sex scene and you're like, wait, it's kind of like this is clearly a sex scene, but also it's like kind of shitty comedy.
Yeah.
It's like it's so bizarre.
Is that the initial scene where the
You have
player
a
character
dream.
drifts off and
you have a dream and he's like performing it. I don't even know.
Yeah, he's
in the middle
banging
of
you
class.
on the lectern in front of the class.
And you're like in that room and you're like, probably should stop.
Dorian, just gaze on that.
Oh man, yeah.
Also, I like your quarters. I think this is a good choice of screenshot.
I haven't played any Dragon Age whatsoever, and the only reason I started playing it is because I saw Dorian, and I bought Inquisition, and then I ended up loving it more than Mass Effect, and I went back and played all of it.
So, here's me and Dorian. I created a conventionally masculine, gorgeous big He-Man character, completely blonde, sort of normal hair. And I romanced Dorian, and at the time that I triggered the romance, I guess, we just had the confrontation with his father. And so I went, let's put the brakes on, because I'm like, you're just going to do that to me, Dad. You're not going to
Oh no.
And I missed out on the nutty scene. I missed out completely on the sex scene.
No.
It was sort of appropriate for that Inquisitor, because that Inquisitor was like a serious Androstian.
The point you bring up though, Barbara, is really interesting though, because with romance in games, usually there's no sort of subtlety. Like you have to go goddamn hard.
Because I genuinely thought that I'd be able to come back and we'll have the sex scene later when he's in a better headspace.
Maybe like the way that the writers or the people who have like programmed the game or like designed it, they're like, you need to have your eyes on track, you need to constantly be up to that. Because in visual novels, like a lot of the time it's about like getting points.
Yeah. But in violent games, it's still about getting points, and they're trying to move away from it. But it's still, even though it's like they've moved to a physical instead of blatantly giving a gift from Emma Origins, you know, bribing Alistair to love you. It's still about collecting points, ultimately. And the thing is, it's actually really difficult to design a game where it's not about collecting points. It just makes it more subtle.
In a game about characters that is meant to feel natural, that's meant to feel human, and then you're like, okay, how am I going to get this math right so I can bang this shit? Like, it's a little bit frustrating, but maybe it's not that.
But I feel like if BioWare just made a romance game and didn't have had the same amount of budget to just make that, it would be a lot more fluid and then it would be a lot more.
And then the thing is, that was partly down to how I played my game, because I triggered the romance right after we had the showdown with his dad. And the thing is, if I'd gone off and done some other missions and maybe even did a full like sweep of the Winter Palace or like a major mission, that would have put a lot of mental headspace in there. So it's like, oh, it's obviously been weeks since you spoke to your father, you're feeling a bit better now, let's bang. But doing it in 15 minutes of that scene, that just felt really uncomfortable and wrong.
You really, man, that's a lot of respect.
I'm going to have to.
I'm not.
I think this is Kratos, but it's belly armor.
Wait,
how good is that?
Really?
Well, I found it on a search for Kratos, so I don't know whether this is fan art. I don't know what's going on here, but it's a bit of inspiration. But yes, belly armor, and Justine, you like the crop top, so this is just for you. Okay.
I can't see if that's one.
Sorry.
Now you see the belly.
I have no idea what he's supposed to be protected from there, but hey, it's all great. This is on Pel de la Muerta from Sanctuary of the Third. I'm sort of putting in there as a bit of a nod to our bear loving or larger man loving thing, because if it was me, this would be all famous all the time, and we don't want to have a show. So, this is from a game called See No Evil, which is a really awesome adventure game. I don't know how far I got into it, but basically the entire game is composed of nude bears. Like, that's literally the entire. But it's a really interesting game because you go to hell and you have to escape, and it's an adventure game.
Not heaven?
It's called See No Evil. Google. People. This is great because it's a combination of Bisho and sort of aspirational shooting that you do.
I actually like the Seven Resident Evil 2, and I know that was, controversial. I enjoyed him in Resident Evil 4 because he was in pain the whole time. He was just
We've got people leaving the room now.
Oh no! Oh my god, I'm sorry. But see, in Resident Evil 4, okay, he's walking around, he's in pain, he's pale, like there's a thing about men in pain, I don't know why, but it's a big trope that comes up a lot because obviously a lot of people find that attractive, and it includes me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, but in Resident Evil 2, he had this fun, quirky personality, and he was just running around all the time going, why is this happening on my first day on the job, and all this stuff, and he was a lot of fun in that, so I was kind of sad that they felt the need to, make him silent or serious, and
you already had it.
He lost his personality. Yeah, I already have an Adam, I only need one Adam to
Okay. Chris, of course, is here because A in 4 arms. I mean, look at that. That's also, he comes up a bit in video games, maybe gay type of discussions. It's like, when did you know you were gay? Exhibit A, thank you. Solus. Now, any Solus things in that?
Oh, this is
controversial.
Yeah, Solus romance, because we were talking about this. I think we were saying it'd be weird if the Solus romance was open to male characters as well. I feel like that might have come up.
It does seem to be a bit of a womanly thing.
He's so leader.
It's so weird. He's just such an odd character.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was odd as a female Inquisitor. I feel like it would be as odd with a male Inquisitor.
What's odd about it? What do you?
He's very much tag teaming between a lot of distant moments, and then being very precious and being very tender, I guess.
Okay.
At times, and so just bouncing between those two things.
Passionate when you got into
Yeah, exactly. But then sometimes you act really distant.
Yeah,
I'm not
because you're being a complete ass.
Yeah, and so that's where Brood and Angst, 99.9% of the time, is great.
Yeah.
But it's just an uncomfortable speed bump.
Yeah, I find that the sort of women who romance Solus, the sort of people who are into Spock, And so they're really into a very cerebral, distant sort of person who gives them attention and he feels like it. And I tend to think they can get stuff. Now,
Very important.
yes, very absolutely. Very sexy image. Fenris is about to rip someone's heart out.
And it was so hot.
And
I thought I liked Penrith a lot more than I did, and I decided to go with Seb, which was a mistake because I rivalman Seb, and if you friendship properly romantic, you can marry him, which I was like, I was going to do anyway. But if you rivalman him, then you get cockblocked by Andraste, and he's like, and I'm like, are you serious? Yeah, well he does, but you're not allowed to marry him.
I know he becomes more religious with the friendship path. So that's the path where he doesn't marry you.
Well, I never wrote that shit.
Well, he just kept saying, I can't because I'm religious. And I was like, come on, but you used to be a bad boy.
Yeah, I know. We're in a slut section.
I was like, why are you
somebody requested Gauthier. We're having a double dose of Gideon Emery here.
There's this man, I was playing Final Fantasy 12 ages ago because I dug out my old PS2 and a CRT.
I do love this outfit.
And I was like, well, I mean, the thing is, there's this one, like, one of the, I think you've seen the mission that you get Barsha. You have like him and Volthiov and Barn. And so you have three basically topless guys, and it's just the washboards. It's just that on PS2, and I've got this screenshot on my Instagram, and it's terrible, and it's so dumb. But like, also, like, I feel like he was just a really interesting character. From what I played at Final Fantasy 12, interesting. I'm not going to say hot.
Video game husband.
Okay. We can talk a bit about voice actors here because Fenris and Gauthier were Gideon Emery. I personally am a bit of a fan of Brandon Keenan, who of course Garrus, and again.
Have we not spoken about Garrus yet?
Yeah, I actually have not had anywhere near as much Garrus as I should have had. I sort of was actually trying to stick with human characters because it wasn't about real life humans. Basically, as much Gravel as you can get, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who else? Who's Hayden's voice actor? Nobody knows, nobody cares.
Let me do that one.
There's a bit of sand in there as well.
I'm pretty bad at
Raphael's
Sparge, yes. And the funny thing is, he's like this accountable-looking dude. He has an insanely sexy voice.
Yeah, damn.
I've been told this is a bad idea, but hey.
It is a bad idea.
Big sword, compensating for something.
I thought you meant that it might get in the way, like, just when you make it
that was so well done.
Alright,
yeah, you put in Virion at the last minute. Why? Why
okay.
is that bad?
I don't tend to play anime or anime games. I'm all about the Western games. But I downloaded that Fire Emblem Heroes mobile game just to have a look at it.
Oh no, is that your experience with Virion?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh shit.
I have a rare
so these guys need to convert me. I'm about to be back.
I have a rare pair for Virion.
Okay.
You can't even, doesn't even, there's not even any translation for it. It's Virion and Long Q.
Oh, Long Q and everyone is back to part. But the problem with Virion is, in Fire Emblem Awakening, to romance guys who go to play as a female, and in Awakening, he's all about them babes. And like, kind of, I don't know, like, would you say, have you played much of Fire Emblem Awakening? Virion, not so much?
Not so much.
The way that he treats some of the female characters, at least at first, is a little bit, like, he's speaking down to them. And that was really patronizing and not great for, like, what I was wanting at the time. And so I basically just paired him with Sully, where she was, like, a fucking badass. And so she's just slaying him, and they got married. He's probably miserable.
Yeah.
Whatever, Sully, go
No, I actually approved. That sounds fantastic. One person I haven't included in here, which is a bit neglectful, is Zebra from Dragon Age Origins. And, well, this is the thing. Zebra was an obnoxious sexist pig. He was worse than Oberon. How can you be worse than Oberon?
He was awful, but I had a lot of fun with it. I'm embarrassed about that. I did have a lot of fun with him, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is, Zebran was originally made to be purely gay, not,
Really?
yes. Yes. If anybody came to GX last year and went to David Gator's session, Zebran was supposed to be gay and the top rascal making him go females. But yeah, it's like I think Zebra is the character who should be appealing and so revolting. Now, I realised that I didn't have any Street Fighter, so I quickly tried to Street Fighter and went, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. So I have no idea what I'm doing here. I literally just went around finding.
Was this your response?
No, I had Zach, yeah.
I was conscious of the fact that I need more muscle meat in here.
You need more
and the fighter stroke never gets old. I mean, come on. Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
This just taps into the daddy, doesn't it? Reinhardt. But I mean, Overwatch generally, like, what a clever game in terms of creating characters. That I think there's pretty much something for everybody. Like, there's just a character. Everyone has someone in that game where they're like, I would definitely make it. Like, it's just 100%.
Only one.
No more than one, probably.
But at least one.
Yeah, at least one. So Reinhardt definitely taps into that daddy stuff, which is great. But I also love there's that whole fan fiction around Junkrat and Roadhog, and how they're in like a relationship in high school together, and they grow up together, and they're friends, and they're sort of kind of lovers as well, and kind of taps into that chubby chaser thing as well. Which again is just not something that happens in video games much.
Why Roadhog? Junkrat is, like...
I like Roadhog.
Junkrat's my problematic fave. Lucio, because he's just a goddamn meat fighter. And then I've accidentally just kind of fallen into this whole Tumblr Reaper 76 banner. It's goddamn dangerous.
Yeah.
That's
quite genuinely, if any of you are video game developers, Robert James is one of my favourite game designers and actually a really reliable source of useful and interesting information on game design. This is from
Robert Yang.
No, but what's the game?
Josh. What's it called?
I don't remember what it's called.
You remember what it's
Rinse and
called?
Repeat. It's called Rinse and Repeat. These games are all free. They are literally free to download.
Don't stream them on Twitch.
The other thing is, this game does something interesting because it works in real time. So after you've given this guy you can't see it, but you can actually, you can see your own ghostly hand rubbing it up with a nice little butt. And then when you stop, you actually have to wait for 24 hours for him to show up again. In real time. You've literally got to leave your computer and come back when it's show time again.
Actually, no, Robert Yang is an interesting point because he has a lot of different games. Like there was the Shifts.
Shift,
which explores police, the police discrimination towards gays.
Cobra Club.
Sorry?
Cobra Club. Cobra Club is a serious game about surveillance.
Wait.
Cobra Club is the one where you can make dicks.
Dick pics.
You make your dick pics.
Yeah, it's about crafting this dick pic.
Yeah, and you craft this beautiful dick pic and you chat to people and they'll give you hints about how you can use the features in the games, which is really clever. And then eventually somebody will send you a note and then they'll send you a real life URL that you can go and visit outside the game, which is your dick pic. So it's actually, it's basically about your privacy and the fact that people can get your stuff. And so your dick pic has been uploaded to an NSA website.
It's a grind simulator.
But the thing is, it's sort of the point because, I'm sitting there going, yes, my dick is famous. I worked so hard to make this dick. It's blue and sparkling.
It's so good. But then Having Plenty, to your point about the time thing, Having Plenty kind of explores and I guess by extension, kind of. Not really. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with
because it locks you out if you genuinely.
Yeah, if you he's I've got a safe word. You've got to try and you've got to really ride that line. And if you don't, if you really punish this guy, he will lock you out of the game for a year. I'm not even joking. It will lock to your goddamn system clock and will be I'm not coming back here for a year. You have it so goddamn hard.
Yeah. You're broken his hard limits and you can fuck right off. And I approve. We are running out of time. Does anybody want to just start yelling, shout out your favourites?
Did we forget any boys?
Yeah. Because I'm very biased towards Western games. Okay, I haven't played Oblivion, so who's the voice actor? I don't. Sorry.
But it was amazing.
I'm just giving you big whoop here because
really, and that was somehow sexually attractive and I don't understand. do wonders that Nathan's great. Like there's a scene where he goes to this little island and I jump out and it gets all wet. I've got this beautiful shot of him on the beach where he's like, oh, stop. Another scene at the start where he's like in a wetsuit. I'm like, that's iconic.
Yeah, just that water, it's delightful.
Zangief especially. So yes, I actually like Zangief in Wreck-It Ralph, like, ooh, crush man's head between his eyes. I just wanted to show off my Saints Row boss. This is Saints Row the Third in the leather pig outfit. You can get it's pretty awesome. A few people pointed out to me as like, your boss is bandits. And so yeah, welcome aboard, Jennifer. Enjoy the view. Yeah, so this is the end of my thing. So if people want to keep yelling, or if people want to leave the room and keep yelling,
We're probably
we're gonna go.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.